Because if he lords it over somebody in the temple, once he's back in the temple, no longer GBC, someone can lord it over him. He
Right.
can be put in that position. So what occurs with Srila Prabhupada is it started that they had no intention of ever letting the temple presidents elect the GBC. Now, why do I mention that in response to your question, which seems to be somewhat unrelated in a sense? And I'll explain. Because the gurus now, after the first 11 Rithviks were declared themselves to be regular gurus, as soon as they finishing off Srila Prabhupada, that the gurus became maintained, supervised, and actually chosen by a GBC that was not elected at all. So in 1970, Prabhupada, they all signed, 12 men signed that they were going to obey that order. And obeying the order of the spiritual master is no ordinary thing. If you ever, in the battlefield, and the top general hands you a paper and says, give this to that general over there, who's under my command, because we are going to plan an invasion based on what's in that letter. And suppose you choose not to deliver the letter. If they catch you at it and there's bloodshed all over the place because you didn't deliver the letter, what happens to the messenger? He's put against the wall and he's shot as a traitor. So these men became traitors when they refused to follow the direct written order that they co-signed on legal paper by their spiritual master. So if you are ready to disobey the direct written order of the person who created the Krishna consciousness movement, not as a society, but as a spiritual opportunity to go back to home, back to Godhead, because he's an acharya. Transparent via medium is not the same thing as a GBC appointed guru. Transparent via medium means that he can see the whole Sampradaya, he can see Krishna, he can see Balaram, he can see Lord Chaitanya, and more importantly, or equally importantly, he can see Krishna face to face. That's not an ordinary experience for anyone. So they went in the face of that person, Srila Prabhupada, and determined that they were not going to follow the order that they themselves signed with their blood practically. They signed it in blood. It couldn't have been more urgent than what they signed, direction of management. For them, it was just a simple thing of, oh, this is one Prabhupada's theory of how we should manage the movement. They didn't see it as a divine command, and they didn't understand that empowering the rank and file devotees as well as the temple presidents would have a good effect in the long run on making the movement unstoppable. For instance, Los Angeles has one temple, or until coronavirus had one temple. Now it doesn't have anything really yet. They're remodeling it, but God only knows what's going to happen afterward, if there's an end to coronavirus. So the thing is, when they disobeyed that order, they put themselves in a position of saying, they were actually saying, Prabhupada is a spiritual person that understands and knows Krishna and is taking us to Krishna. But as far as material things, our lawyers say what we should do. And they say that Prabhupada doesn't know jack about how to organize a society.
This is the facsimile of the direction of management.
Yeah, we will listen to we'll get to it. We will listen to the lawyers because the lawyers will make us a big corporation that will be powerful. Well, all the lawyers did by making a powerful corporation was so many lawsuits against the corporation. Whereas if each individual temple had been incorporated as a tiny little entity, there would be so many temples everywhere, and you could, if you sue one ISKCON, you're not suing the other ISKCON. They're all individual corporations. So, where did that conspiracy begin? That conspiracy began before 1970. They were thinking, Tamal Krishna was thinking, how will I become the next Acharya of ISKCON after Prabhupada scoots off into the hinterland of his end of days? How will I become the Acharya? At that time, he was a younger man in his 30s. So for him to think like that is very ambitious. But he was in his 90s. Why would he think like that at all? But he wasn't in his 90s. He was young and ready for power, action, and the thrill of absolute leadership over others. So they simply gave up the idea that they wanted to follow Prabhupada. They said, Prabhupada created the movement, that's great. He started the movement, he made it work, but now it's time for us American business minds to take it over and make it into a real corporation like General Motors, top-down leadership. That's what they thought, because they thought that being an American counted against Prabhupada being the pure devotee. They did not understand the simple point that you can see, I can see, Ramachandra can see, Banu can see, that there is no distinction of material thinking or spiritual thinking. There's only that which Krishna expresses through the spiritual master. It's not as though there's a lawyer that can argue successfully against Krishna. They've been trying for hundreds of millions of years to argue against Krishna, and they haven't gotten anywhere. Krishna is still in Vrindavan, still dancing with gopis, still drinking milk from the breast of Mother Yasoda, still in a wonderful rasa with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's in a wonderful rasa with Krishna, whatever that rasa happens to be. So they cannot see any of that. They're blinded by their own puffed up sense of management. And they weren't even managers to begin with. They were hippies. Not one of them went to Harvard Business School or Yale or any other major university for business training. So they were just listening to lawyers. They were just hippies who chanted Hare Krishna, cleaned themselves up, and then decided that they wanted to listen to the lawyers, not listen to the pure devotee of the Lord, who had delivered them from repeated birth and death. So that's the greatest aparad. Aparad in our language means offense against the pure devotee. Now you have the, does that make sense, Prabhu? I was speaking
Yes.
for your benefit.
Right. Yes.
Did you catch
So
any
far,
of the?
so far, I'm listening. It
Did you
seems
catch
like,
any of it?
yeah, I myself, I've been wondering for some years now, when that ambition came, like when that aspiration came into the mind of Tamal Krishna, that he wanted to usurp the movement. And so what you're telling me now is
It happened in
that his consciousness
1969.
was, yeah, his consciousness was already in that mode since even
Yes,
before 1970.
yes. He came up to, we had a temple. Have you been to the Los Angeles temple ever? On Wasika?
No, I haven't. I've seen many lectures and I've
Yeah.
seen several lectures and
But
things like that happen there.
we had a temple on La Cienega Boulevard, and we were going to the temple. Tamal was practically staggering like a person having some sort of epileptic fit, in a sense. He couldn't walk because he was in such a state of rapture and, I suppose, from his point of view, ecstasy. And he came up to me. Everybody admired me because they thought I was intelligent. Nobody trusted me because I wasn't playing the games they were playing. I was not part of the team of conspiracy against what
The
Prabhupada taught.
sannyasi club.
Yeah, well, there weren't any sannyasis, but yeah, back then later they became sannyasis. So Tamal came up and he grabbed me by the arm and he's practically staggering, unable to stand on his two legs, saying, you know, Narayana Prabhu, he said, you know how Prabhupada said that I have many moons, but I have many stars circling around me, but I'm looking for one moon who will carry on this movement. And Tamal looked at me and said, Narayana Prabhu, I am that moon, he said.
Yeah.
Now he could think it or feel it, but to actually say it and to try to make his whole life based on I am that moon. Everybody else wants to do some work in it. Everyone wants to cook. Everyone wants to take prasadam. Everyone likes going up and jumping up and down on Sankirtan. That's all nice. But I am the moon. I am that moon.
It's very
and so that's where it started, 1969. Seeing that was the mood that was shaping up, Prabhupada created the GBC, modeled after his spiritual master's GBC, which also Prabhupada's godbrothers refused to implement. And Prabhupada put that there really more as Prabhupada is Trikalagya. He can see past, present, and future. So it's not as though Prabhupada was fooled, but he played along with the game in order to keep everybody engaged, even if he saw them where they were going and what they were going to do. He wanted the movement to be unbreakable by the time he entered Samadhi. And the movement is going strong, so it's not unbreakable. But it has not adopted the basic principles that Srila Prabhupada wanted, like the elected GBC. So now we have a non-elected GBC identical to the cardinals of the Catholic Church. We have the GBC, and they appoint the gurus just like the Catholic Church elects the Pope. The cardinals elect the Pope. It's a top-down organization. Prabhupada wanted a bottom-up organization where the common man had more voice than the GBC, not the other way around. Do you get that point? It's not simple. It's not complicated. It's not a weird conspiracy. It was going on.
That's why Prabhupada said, mentioned that there's a sinister movement happening within ISKCON.
Within our society.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. There's a sinister movement happening in our society like that.
But we couldn't understand him when he said that.
Right.
Because as far as we were concerned, all the leaders were first-class leaders. Everything was going on well. The organization was going very well. Books were being distributed like crazy. I mean, what's the bad part? We didn't see it. We didn't understand what was really going on. We didn't know that these men at the top were planning to take over the movement as gurus. Well, Tamal didn't want it to be gurus. He wanted to be the guru, but he had no way of making that happen. So he had to include others, figuring those guys are such idiots that when I get in charge there, I'll be able to easily sweep them off the table because they're not that cool, they're not that smart. I mean, here's a guru, Kirtanananda, practicing homosexual. I'm not against homosexuality, but he's not for a guru. If you know.
You can't exactly be a guru.
You have Bhavananda, who is also practicing homosexual.
Yeah.
And then you have Jayatirtha, who was weak person.
He fell on with a lot of women, right? He was
You have Jayapataka, who was a sort of a Nazi from a German,
I
Wisconsin
get the
German.
vibe of that he's like a gangster, you know.
Jayapataka.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're quite right. But he came from a long line of gangsters. The Germans went and colonized in Wisconsin, I think it is, and they created colonies there and a culture. And he came from that culture, very autocratic, very didactic, very insistent that I'm right and nobody else is right. That's how he acted. And he took part in the poisoning.
Yeah. I heard
And
that
Bhavananda
his
took part in the poisoning.
that their voices were there uh on those recordings.
So you're aware of these things.
Yeah. I mean,
So then let me ask
that's
you,
part of
what?
that's a big reason why I stopped going um to the temple a couple years
Yeah.
ago, about 3 years ago or something. I just kind of I was really I kind of and concerned for my devotional service, my path, not to I didn't want to be
Well,
associating
if you're
with
looking for a devotional service, you've come to the right Zoom call.
right.
That's what we're presenting is
Yeah.
Prabhupada's actual devotional service, not as an anti-ISKCON devotional service, but as a pro-Prabhupada. We're learning from the spiritual master. Nobody likes that. Even the Rithviks don't like it. They all want to have their political party. But I
Yeah.
don't. No political party here. Now, if I could ask you, which temple were you associated with?
I mean, I didn't like get in real deep or anything, but the Houston temple, the Houston temple is like this
You
like
were telling, you're the gentleman that was talking about the Houston temple.
right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And I said I was there in 2010, 2011, and they kicked
Yeah.
me out, actually. They kicked me out of the temple
Yeah.
because they found a lot of the stuff that I'd written about Tamal, and Tamal is untouchably sacred in the Houston temple.
Yeah.
And was his mother still alive when you were there?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to know who was who until later on after the fact. I stopped going. I learned more about the temple president and that he was a disciple of Tamal Krishna and that there was a lot of crookedness happening um, with currently with the management of the temple. Um,
Yeah,
they
that's
had like
another
this,
thing.
yeah. That's a whole topic in itself. Like for
And
example, they,
somebody stole the deities, Coordinatai deities.
really? When
Yeah,
was that?
before you got there, probably.
Yeah, they stole
What
them.
year? What year? What year did you start going to Houston?
I would say like 2016, 2017. I was
Yeah, well, I
going a
was in
little bit
there. I
here
was
and there.
there. This was like maybe 2011 or 12 that happened.
Yeah. Um.
And definitely, Kamal's mother wasn't still alive. She was like 93 or something. It was just amazing. Very lively lady. Absolutely adored her son. Considered him to be an avatar or something of that sort, and even used hand gestures and facial expressions that she copied from watching his tapes. And
Yeah.
she was a very nice lady. I never said anything against her son to her, obviously, because
She
I'm
had.
not going to dishonor a woman's son to her face. But the temple devotees were terrified that I would say something to her, and that's when they banned me from coming to Houston Temple. They all liked me. I was very popular there. But when I I was there with my younger wife, and we'd gotten married in 2007, so we've been married a few years, and we had a 2-year-old child, or one and then 2-year-old child, when we were in Houston. So I mean, the whole thing was popular, and our little child was popular, you know. So for them to tell us we couldn't come was not easy for them to do, but they were terrified that we would do something to create an offense with Tamal's mother.
Yeah, they didn't want any. They didn't want his name to be like, you know,
Denigrated.
put in the mud like that. Yeah.
Could I ask you, what is your educational background?
My educational background.
Yeah.
I just have like a high school diploma.
Well, that's
I
nice.
I was involved in a car accident my senior year in high school, and it kind of just, I mean, it put me on a, like, I started just spiraling downward because my hand was basically destroyed and had to be reconstructed, and I had like
Oh,
PTSD for a while, and that's why like I didn't continue my education.
I got it. So are you about 27 years old?
I just turned 29 on the 10th.
Well, happy birthday. 10th of January?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
Jai.
to you. Happy birthday, dear. Waking up to the reality, Prabhu. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Oh man,
Yeah.
it's
So it left you with some impacts on your body and like that, right?
yeah, like somatic memory. When you go through like a traumatic event, and that information gets stored in your cells, like a memory chip. Anything we
Well, you
go
don't,
through, really.
you have nothing to worry about because you don't need your memory. All you need to do is to understand Prabhupada, understand Krishna, understand that you're part and parcel of Krishna, and that Prabhupada is your intermediary between you and Krishna. He's the via medium, transparent via medium. So you don't have to have any memory at all.
Jai.
And once you have Prabhupada as your spiritual master, there's no need for memory. There's nothing to remember. Realize, yes, you can realize that you're part and parcel of Krishna because you are Sat, eternal. And we're in the world of Asat, and your body got whacked around in a car crash is Asat, not Sat. There's nothing Sat about the human body. And
Right.
therefore, you could lose an arm, as you did, you can lose a leg, you can end up in a coma. There's all sorts of things that can happen. But
Yeah.
that's not you. That's not who you are. You are,
Right.
I am spirit soul. I don't have a soul. I am the soul, and I have a body. That's
Right.
reality.
That's the conclusion I've reached, is that it is actually part of Krishna's mercy that I went through that, and
Oh, of course.
healed from it, and now that I see,
It's
having
pure. It was
looking back,
purifying.
I can help others, overcome this really difficult psychological state,
Yes.
by using Krishna consciousness. As
But
I've
your
received a lot of,
intelligence seems more clear than the average human being. Your consciousness is quite clear, which is, I suppose you could say, it was triggered by the accident, but it's your nature also. You were gifted with the accident, perhaps, in order to develop a higher level of clarity than you would have had without it.
I think I would have to agree with that statement, just based on my experience. You know, I consider like what where I would be if that wouldn't happen, where
Hmm.
what I might have not realized had that not come to happen. So
So what were you planning to do before the accident? What was your mission?
I don't know. Well, I was kind of hoping that I could like move to Austin, and I wasn't really sure. What I just wanted to like kind of like go to Austin, and at the time I was living kind of more like a hippie into like psychedelics and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But actually through all these different experiences, that's how I came to Krishna consciousness, having all these
Well,
experiences across the
it's
chart
a
from
it's a
like
straight line between you and Krishna consciousness. There's no obstacle in your way. If you go to the temple, you'll find people that are trying to control it. Just like supposing you see a cow that's full of milk and you're thirsty, you want some milk, you go up. Then a guy comes in and says, you can't take milk from that cow. You have to pay for the milk, or you have to come work for me at the farm, but you're not getting any milk unless you uh, do something like pay money or do something like that. And you say, but I just wanted some milk and the cow seems agreeable. No, you cannot do because I'm controlling. So those guys in the temple are like that. They have the cow, they have the cow's milk. That's Krishna's mercy is flowing as it is in the spiritual sky. And you say, I want some of that mercy. Say, no, you have to follow this. You have to do that first. And then you begin to realize there's something wrong in the picture. What's wrong here? What's going
right.
on?
They tell you that you have to take up you take up a guru, and that you have to fall in line. Do everything they say. They even give background checks now. I'm thinking like because my buddy told me before when he first came to the temple that had done a background check on him. He had like long hair and a beard and what have you. Um, and so I'm thinking like after I learned about all this really all this darkness and ISKCON, this thing, like the history of what actually happened. I
Are you aware you're sitting in the dark?
Yeah, I'm in my I don't have a lot of I have
That's
the
good.
light kind of covered in my room here. But what's it called? They I kind of come to the conclusion like they're doing background checks on on people coming in. We should be doing background checks on these gurus and looking at their
I
histories. You know what I mean? That's the
like that.
conclusion that I came
Very, very
to.
nice. Well, you've come to the right place. We're just spending good time with you because you're worth it. But take into account that what we're doing is sorting out everything. Uh, Ramananda Singh Prabhu? Ramananda?
Say
Yes,
again?
Prabhu. Go ahead. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
Ramachandra Singh, I mean. Yes, I said
Yes, Prabhu.
Ramachandra Singh. What was it that phrase we came up with?
Not acceptable.
Not what?
Not acceptable.
Not acceptable. Not acceptable. Yes. So we're coming up with so many standards. We're going to say not acceptable. Background check for people coming in, but no background check for gurus. Not acceptable. And we have to prove it all with Shastra, and we have to prove it all with Prabhupada's own words, which is not difficult. The reason why they've been so successful is they managed to keep people away from understanding what Prabhupada was actually saying and teaching. They
Yeah.
just get the parts where, oh yeah, he said you have to surrender, accept a guru. That part they can remember, but they don't
Yeah.
remember anything else. So that they bring people in just to become subjects, like a king or like members of the Catholic congregation. Were you from a Protestant background?
Um, I would just say general non-denominational Christianity, Church of Nazarene, something like that.
Yeah, I know. I know the Church of Nazarene. Yeah.
That's
So
how my parents came. That's their background that they come from. That their parents are Christian, or my mother's parents, I think, were Catholic, and my dad's parents were Christian. My mother's from Mexico, so my dad is an Anglo
your mother is from
American.
Mexico?
Yeah, yeah,
Are you half Mexican then?
yeah.
¿Qué parte de México?
And ella vino de Tamaulipas, de Río Bravo, ahí en la frontera, right there in the border. That's where my mom grew up.
Oh, the Texas border?
You know where Tamaulipas and Rio Bravo is, like right across the border on the other
I
side
see. I
of
don't know that part of Mexico. I know more the central part, DF,
is a
Guadalajara, Jalisco.
northern state. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm mostly familiar with the north. I've visited like Monterrey, like that, and I've also visited like Mexico City and uh also Oaxaca and the beaches there. Um and I've driven through Mexico when I was young, like 10 years old or something, with my family.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's nice. So
I
anyhow, we
I
need to
could
also get started also with what our program is for tonight. We welcome you. And if you want Prabhupada, you'll find Prabhupada here. If you want to find out what the hell went wrong, you can find out what the hell went wrong here. Because Prabhupada's movement is a great success with major secret death traps all throughout it. And what our job is to put a rubber stamp on the death trap stuff saying, not acceptable. If they argue against what we're saying, we will have all the Shastra and Prabhupada's words to back us up. If they have nothing except our GBC to back them up, they say, well, where did you get your GBC? They were supposed to be elected in 1970. You've never had an election. Therefore, not acceptable. We cannot accept the GBC unless it's elected by the temple presidents, because that is the order of the spiritual master in writing. And a bunch of you guys signed it too. You know, so you get the point.
yeah.
So not acceptable. So the things you've began to discover, you're actually doing what I'm doing and what we're doing, what Ramachandra is doing. We're taking a rubber stamp and stamping not acceptable. And underneath the words not acceptable, we are writing what is it that the truth is. They say this or that, bang, not acceptable. We put that rubber stamp. Then underneath it, we put as many pages as required, what the truth actually is, coming from Prabhupada, coming from the Sampradaya, genuine stuff. You see?
Prabhu, we have another guest, new guest today. Prabhu, can you introduce yourself?
You're the boss. You're in charge. Take care.
Prabhu, can you introduce yourself? Are you in India? Surya, can you introduce yourself, Surya Prabhu?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I am Suryansh from India, and I recently realized about God, and I want to become a devotee in future.
Very good. So have you read Srila Prabhupada's books, any of his books or videos, lectures, conversations?
I have read some chapters of the Science of Self-Realization.
Wow. It's a great book. How old are you?
Yeah. I'm 14.
14 years old. Wow. Amazing.
I think this happened upon a right group of people. You know, it's a lot of mercy to be able to receive this knowledge at such a young age.
Wait a second. How old did
I'm 14.
He said he's 14 years old.
14 or
14.
40?
14. He says he's
Are
teenager.
you 14 years old? You look as though you have white hair.
That's
No,
the
that's
light. Wait.
Is
it's
it
the light.
daytime over there?
Yeah, it's daytime in India.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see. What part of
So
India?
your age is 14, not 40, right?
Yes, 1-4.
That's amazing because you speak with such gravity and maturity. I would have thought you were much older simply by your voice.
Thank you. Thank you.
So why not, Ramachandra, why not cultivate Sri Singhal ji and ask him, etc., questions? How did he get involved? What is his interest? How did he get on the Zoom call, etc.? You know, Ramachandra is in charge of this
It
meeting. I
just,
just talk a lot.
So go
yeah.
ahead. Do you have any questions, Prabhu? Surya Prabhu. I'll call you Surya Prabhu.
Why are you calling me Prabhu?
Everyone's
Prabhu
Prabhu
means,
here.
yeah, Prabhu means master. Why do we call you master? I'm 77 years old. You're 14 years old. Why do I call you master? Because you are part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is master. So I call you master because I want to honor you for who you actually are, not according to how long ago you were born into a material body in India. Are you in India?
Yeah, yeah.
So what part of India?
From Agra.
Andhra Pradesh?
Agra. He's from Agra.
Yeah, Uttar Pradesh, UP.
Agra, near Mathura?
In Uttar Pradesh.
Is that Taj Mahal?
Yeah,
You're near the Taj Mahal?
yeah.
I've been there. Agra. I love Agra.
How was your
Now,
experience?
Singhal is originally what part of India the name Singhal comes from? Singhalese, right?
No, it comes from Agrawal.
Where?
You'll not get it. I also don't know anything about
It's
that much.
Okay,
Acha.
don't worry about it. But it's a very
So-
powerful name.
So how did you come in contact with the channel, this Facebook Live or YouTube Live? Were you watching our videos from
Yeah,
another time?
I was watching videos from Hare Krishna TV and from Radhanath Swami. Then this got recommended few days ago, so I subscribed
Oh,
and
acha.
I watched the live which you did 2 days ago or 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. So this this channel is very unique because we discuss not only historical accounts of what happened and many things we have covered already. So it would be advisable to see the videos that we have done already, and then if you have any questions, then you can ask.
Okay.
So do you have any questions? I just want to open it up regarding the philosophy, historical accounts. So maybe we can direct you to the right place.
Yes,
Please ask.
I'm lazy to scriptures, understand, and I'm doing so many sins that I don't know how can I balance them out.
What did you say? You're doing studies and you're doing so many things. You're trying to balance out your spiritual life. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying sins. I'm doing so many sins.
Oh. Committing so many sinful activities is what you're saying? You're trying to purify?
Yeah.
There's the holy name is all encompassed there in the holy name. Formula of purification, just chanting like that and associating with devotees who are loyal to the Srila Prabhupada.
We shouldn't be using the holy name to contract our sins.
I started chanting.
Very good. Very good. So you can associate with us, ask questions, because we're also sinning, or we sinned,
Yeah.
and we changed our lives slowly, one step at a time. So you can
Yeah.
ask for some tips and stuff. So one of the things you can do is, regulate your life. Chant, then try to understand why Srila Prabhupada is saying to follow the regulated principles of
Oh,
freedom.
just a second, Ramachandra. Sri
But
Singh is 14 years old. It's a little hard to be very sinful at the age of 14, particularly in India, no?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I think it's just being humble.
but sometimes I feel like that. Am I escaping from the reality by chanting?
Are your parents are Hindu or
Yeah,
Vaishnava? Yeah.
yeah,
They,
yeah.
who do they worship?
They worship Lord Krishna. We have a temple at
Ah,
home. Do you want to see?
yes.
Let me show you.
That's very wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. You're giving us darshan of your murti. Ah, look at that. Very, very wonderful. Very beautiful, opulent. How
Wow.
nicely your parents and you are keeping this altar. It's gorgeous.
That's
It's
very nice.
wonderful.
That's nice. Can you tell us about the murtis? Who is who? So you have Radha and Krishna also on the altar, but on the other altars, who is there?
On the other altars, there were Ramji, Hanumanji, and the
Good.
Gurujis who my grandparents worship, learned from.
Who did they worship?
We worship Lord Krishna.
Oh yeah, but the gurus. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't.
I don't
Are
I
these
don't know
local
anything
gurus or
about them.
famous gurus or what sort of gurus are they?
They are their own personal spiritual gurus from Vrindavan.
That's right.
Mm.
So
My
that's
grandparents' father, my grandfather's father, who worshipped them.
I see. So your family is very pious, very good family. They
Wow.
they
Amazing.
they live a sacred sort of life.
Wow. The devotees of Lord Krishna. From birth,
Yes,
you're devotees of Lord Krishna. Amazing.
that's very wonderful.
Yeah, but they worship Krishna for material gains, I think, sometimes.
That's all right.
What did he
Sooner
say?
or later.
Is it okay?
What did he say?
He said that they worship Krishna for material gains.
Oh, yeah, people do because they say if God is God, He is everything. I'm only a little part of God. I don't have everything. There's things that I need, God supply. But that's not how to get things from Krishna. Krishna does not respond well to people asking him for things. What he does respond well is people offering him things. Now, I'm sure your parents and grandparents, they made nice offerings to Krishna, right? They would prasad or uh, flowers for sure. We could see they can offer like that, right? So
Yeah.
but if you're saying in their heart, their motive is to get something back, they don't need to do that because by making the offering, everything they're supposed to have will come to them. It's not like you're putting your thumb on the scale and pushing down to make the weight look heavier when you're selling something. No, you don't have to exaggerate your relationship with Krishna. And Krishna understands everything. He's in your heart. He's in the heart of every living being, of every insect also. He's in the Paramatma, is in the heart of every being. So because he is, there's no question of Paramatma being either cheated or fooled. So if we want something, we ask Krishna for it. If we simply offer to Krishna in a deserving mood, then he will supply as much as will be required. You don't have to ask, in other words. You don't have to expect. I'm worshiping to get this. No, you don't need to do that.
I'm just
worship-
coming in a second. I have to go somewhere. Just 2 minutes.
No problem.
Acha. Who has to go?
Surya Prabhu went. He'll be back.
Acha.
Bhanu Prabhu,
Hare
any
Krishna.
questions? Jai Bhanu Prabhu. Hare
Hare Bol
Krishna.
Prabhu.
We missed you.
Hare Bol.
Yes.
We had some devote.
So Paradaya Prabhu wants to initiate, but he's saying that he would initiate only after me getting married. So I'm not into wanting to get into any initiation. I accepted Prabhupada as my guru, but the situation is that he would bless me that I would get a chaste or a nice chaste wife. So
That's
when the
right.
blessing works, then he would.
Blessing. The blessing is coming from you. If your heart is pure, then good things will come to you. If you're greedy or trying to manipulate material energy for your benefit, that's like the guy in the marketplace. He's trying to get the most he can for whatever he's selling. So if you're selling yourself, I want to get the most I can for what I have, the value that I am, or that I have by my birth and my work, my education, that's not necessary. Just look for that someone will want to marry you because of your good qualities. Because ultimately, we're mammals. We're like any mammal, monkeys, cows, dogs, horses. We reproduce just exactly the way they do. So the female is always looking for a good male. What is a good male for a female? He provides shelter. He's kind. He's a good father. He protects. He brings income. You know, these are the things that the female wants in a husband. So if you're looking for a wife, that's nice. But to consider that the wife is looking for a husband, now, if that husband is supposed to become you, that a woman has some desire, every time she sees a man, she says, I wonder if he's the right one. You know, that's just the way women are when they're looking for a husband. So if it's a woman looking for a husband, what would make you the right husband for the right woman? That's the trick. You got to be the right guy. And if you don't have to do anything to trick the fates or trick the gods to give you the right wife, the right wife is looking for you. Find out who she is. Because you're a very great soul. You're a Vaishnava. And anything, if a woman marries you, she'll be lucky. And presumably there will be good prosperity in the family. Hopefully she knows how to cook nicely. You'll have beautiful children. You'll raise them together in peace and chant Hare Krishna at home and in the streets and at the temple. So that's very good. You know, what is the difficult part? I assure you, I think in India and everywhere really, there are more women on earth than men.
Right.
So finding a woman to marry is not difficult. They're all
No, there are more men than women.
Huh?
There are more men than women, actually.
There are?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I'm not sure. Anyway, you can look it up.
Anyways, I have a question for.
What do you think, Ramachandra?
About what?
More men, more women on Earth.
It's more women.
Can you
Oh.
can you double check it?
We can check it later.
Yeah, but anyway, but this is what. Do you see? This is what is concerning Bhanu Prabhu. He's thinking, what can I do to get a good wife? And do I have to do this or that to make that happen? It will happen when the wife feels that you are the right husband. It's as simple as that. Would you agree, Ramachandra?
Yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah. If the wife just says, my God, Bhanu, what lucky woman is going to marry Bhanu? She'll think. And then she could be right or wrong, but I mean, what if she's right? I think Bhanu is a really good guy. Supposing there's half a dozen women in one room, each one is thinking, look, there's Bhanu, he's not married. I wonder what would happen if, who is he going to marry? I wonder what sort of wife he's looking for. Maybe you'd like to marry me, she thinks. You see, that's the psychology of mating. And marriage is based on mating. Fortunately, you're in India from a good family. The mating is taking place within Dharma. It's taking place inside of religious principle, not hippie wedding. You know, it is a not just sense gratification. It's a cultural combination, and it's good to marry into a group of person like you're from, because then there will be no cultural misunderstandings where she cooks something and it's not the way your mom cooked, and you get angry. Why are you cooking that terrible way? She said, but my family loves the way I cook. He said, well, I don't. I like the way my mother cooks, and you're not cooking like that. So you have to try to keep things on the same vein, you know. So I don't understand what the difficulty is.
I mean, I'm not having a regular income. I've just started the business. It's in the starting phase, what I'm doing.
Oh, your business?
Yeah.
Well, do you think it will be successful?
Yeah, I do.
It will be
Then
successful.
Then that's another thing that women are very, very committed to. But be careful that a woman is not just committed to money or your income. You have to think she will be committed to who you are.
Dharma.
Yeah, Dharma. Does it make sense?
Yeah, Prabhu.
So don't sell yourself cheap. If you're going to have a good business, that's good. And there are plenty of women. Right? There's women in the higher caste than you are, same caste as you are, lower caste than you are, really lower caste than you are. And the lower you go down, the more available they will be to you because they would want to marry up, you see. But I'm not recommending it. I just find the perfect wife will find you because you have what she wants. Does it make any sense?
Yeah. I'm looking for a chaste wife actually, so that she would be helping in my spirituality.
Yes, that's ideal. So that's the advertising. You know, there's an old saying, an American saying, I guess because of the American Revolution, run a flag up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes. So if you want a wife that is going to help you in Krishna consciousness, run Krishna consciousness up the flagpole and see which wife is attracted. Which woman? They all have mothers and fathers, and every woman is born with only one purpose, and that's to reproduce. There are exceptions, but I'm looking at the human being as a mammal, just like cats and dogs and elephants and tigers and monkeys and gorillas. They're all mammals. No matter what else you can say, they want to reproduce. Is that not true? Fact, no, simple fact. They want to reproduce. So the question is, how do you reproduce? You reproduce with a person that will increase your genetic power. That's why women wear makeup. Billions of dollars in the world is spent on makeup for women. Why? We don't spend money. I don't spend money on makeup. Yeah, I don't do that. So why? Why do we? What's the makeup for? That's to convince the man that the woman is better than she is. She wants to convince the man that her long, flashy eyelashes and she has no blemish on her face because she's covered it up with paint and et cetera, all of these things, lipstick. These are all to emphasize that she is better than she is. Because if she didn't have to prove that she's better than she is, she wouldn't wear any makeup at all. She'd say, this is the way I look. Like it, take it or leave it. Take me or leave me. This is what I look like in reality. Not just that at the wedding night, I look gorgeous. In the morning, I get up and my God, how did I marry a woman that looks like that? You can see the point, right? So anyhow, is that good advice, would you say? Good counseling.
Who's married here except me here?
I mean, when it comes to marriage, they look at how much honey or money you have, not the devotion.
Well, if it's only money, then you're getting the wrong wife.
No, I'm saying the woman part. On the woman.
Do you know what the mammal requires? It's not that every wolf wants to bring an elephant in, wants her husband, the male wolf, to bring an elephant for dinner to eat. No, she's satisfied with rabbits, but he has to bring them nicely, okay? You don't have to be big earner. You have to provide enough so that she and her offspring, meaning your children and her children, are comfortable, satisfied, not starving, not begging in the street. Bakshish, baba, bakshish, nothing like that.
The women in India, this generation, they got jobs and they're earning as much as the male counterparts. So when it comes to marriage, they look the male, the husband should earn much more than what they're earning.
Oh, maybe. But
I see what you're saying.
The point is that when she has babies, she can't earn anyhow. She has to take care of the children, right?
Right.
So
yeah, that can be a problem.
I wouldn't
Bhanu
get too
Prabhu.
caught up in it. Yeah, go ahead.
I said, my wife makes more money than me, but I don't think that is a problem. But if it is a problem, then it'll probably show up within the next, when you get married, within a few years.
But the main thing is, what is the goal of getting together? Obviously, the mammalian goal is to reproduce. Just like any animal in any species, the human being, they get married to reproduce. But the human being has a wide range of possibilities what they can do. And
entering Grihasthashram.
The mentality of their home. And are we going to listen to rock and roll or are we going to listen to Prabhupada, It's better to go for a spiritual inclined woman who wants you to be her uplifting figure, father figure. And another thing about women to understand, women are looking for a husband. If they had a good father, they want a husband that reflects the qualities of their father. They do.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, if they don't have a good father, then they are defending themselves in trying to get a better husband than their terrible father was. But that's not a good marriage because they're struggling. They're struggling against their own destiny, which was to get conceived in a family where the husband is not so good.
Yeah, make sure, Bhanu Prabhu, make sure their family structure is strong. You know, make sure the father and mother are there, and they're executing the roles nicely to have whoever you get married with.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
if
So
the father is
because
missing or
the minute a girl is born, she looks at her father as the man that she'll marry a man like him. She picks him at the conception. When the semen comes into the uterus of connects with the egg of a woman, the if she's attracted, if the soul in the semen is attracted to the man in the sex act, she will want to be a girl and have him as her model and hero. If the the semen jiva is more attracted to the wife, then he will want to be the son. And ultimately, the son is always, in one sense or another, in classic Greek literature and other literatures, all literature, competitive, competitive with his father over the mother. So this is just basic biology. But that's the structure. Biology is the basis of the physical connection. If you have a bad blood combination or bad karmic combination, forget it. That's another thing. You get the astrological charts done, being sure that nobody's cheating on their charts. And that will show you. Because sometimes you get married, oh, it's heaven for 2 years. Then switch planetary balances. Now it's hell for 2 years. After that, it gets better for a bit better for another 4 years. You want to see what you're getting into from the astrological point of view, or you may find someone that you're totally in love with now, and you won't even like that person 5 years from now, which is not good. You should be with someone you're comfortable with each stage of life. Like
They do see astrology. They see that 32 gunas are there to cross at least 18 gunas, both of them matching between the astrological charts of both.
Who's matching?
It has to cross more than 18 between them, between the boy and the girl.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's one strong indicator, because the nature of both parties will be engaged if the compatibility is there.
don't expect it to be a walk in the park marriage.
Yeah.
So
It could be.
it could be, but most of the
Why
time.
not have a walk in the park? So, but that's
No,
just based
Prabhu.
on the compatibility.
How many times were you married, Nan Prabhu?
Oh, quite a few. But then again, that is because in my previous lives, I was always a leader, a warrior, a monarch, and or a nobleman. And one wife was never a consideration. 5, 4, 5, 6, so many, 10 wives, 20 wives.
10 wives.
I mean, it's just the way the nature of my nature was to be in that lordly role. So in that lordly role, I acted like people in that role. But I acted like that in the first part of life. But when I died, I became totally austere each time. And people thought, oh, he's really going to hell because of the way he was living. And then at the end of life, I became so austere that I took a good birth again.
Right.
So it's not how many times we're living in a crazy society, and monogamy is not natural, but that's what we're stuck with.
Any other questions, Bhanu Prabhu?
I think I have terrified Bhanu.
No, I terrified Bhanu.
They're not sure about what sort of initiation they are giving. I asked Mataji, is it Ritvik initiation? She is completely against Ritvik. Then she is saying on behalf of Prabhupada, she is going to give initiation. That initiation is. But is it normal initiation, regular initiation? Yeah, it's a normal, regular initiation, they say.
What is
Then
regular?
I talked to Shravan Prabhu. He's saying, don't mention the term Ritvik. On behalf of Prabhupada, they give initiation, if they say.
Who's giving initiation? Prabhu's giving or the woman is giving?
Radhe Prabhu.
The
Radhe
point,
She's
the point
she's
is,
giving it to you. You know, she
strictly
wants to give the
speaking, from the Vedic heritage, the woman doesn't need to be initiated.
right,
You are initiated, and she follows your guru.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Husband is the
fine.
guru.
Yeah, Prabhupada initiated women because he came to America where women were at the beginning of the women's liberation movement. They all wanted to be equal with men. So Prabhupada said, fine, chant 16 rounds, you're equal with a man. Then he gave them Gayatri Mantra, no sacred thread, but he gave them Gayatri Mantra. Impossible, but he did it. Why? Because he wanted them to become devotees and practice Krishna consciousness. But as time goes on, these lines will blur a little bit. And it doesn't necessary that the woman takes initiation from a guru. In fact, if she takes initiation from one guru, you take initiation from another guru, that's not going to be peaceful.
Yeah,
And when you have children, that gets worse. Whose guru is the child going to follow?
that's the problem. Yeah, big problem.
It's because of divorces happening, Prabhupada initiated women also, right?
If we deliver everyone over the next 10,000 years, if we stick with it, birth after birth, and deliver fallen souls, you'll see that people will get together for the same old reasons that dogs and cats do, to reproduce. And then we will encourage them all, follow the four regulated principles. And then everyone should be following, at that point, everyone should be have Prabhupada for their guru. In 100 years, there will be no gurus except Prabhupada. Why? Because there won't be any religions except Krishna consciousness. And maybe in 100 years, there'll still be Christians and Catholics and Muslims and Jews, but not in 1,000 or 2,000 years. In 2,000 years, there will be Lord Chaitanya and nobody else.
So I have a question. So if my astrological chart says that my marriage will happen late in my age, or it may never happen, either late or it may never happen.
To get married?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what your age. Prabhupada said there was a man in his 70s or 80s, and he married a very young girl, and she was happy. She served him like crazy, he said. This is all artificial stuff that is based on what? What are you supposed to get by having a young, what is a woman supposed to gain by having a young husband?
No, I only have my father right now. If he passes away, whom would I be staying with?
You come stay with me. Yeah, why not?
What did you say about your dad, your father?
You want to come stay with me? You can come. I have room for you.
Yeah. Oh.
Nice of you.
But we're doing something else. We're living without bodies. We're living in cyberspace, and we don't require.
I'm living in my car, Bhanu Prabhu.
He's not living in his car. He's sleeping in his car. He bhajan couture.
Yeah.
It's a sadhu life. It's very good. I did it myself. It's wonderful. But the thing is, I call an apartment or a room where you live as a people box. You don't need a people box. It distracts from who you are. It makes you think you belong in the people box inside that square space. You go up the same driveway and you go into the same door and now you're home. That's a delusion.
No, you need a wife so that she take care of the material duties in the house, all the works, so you can focus on spirituality.
Yeah, that's what Ramachandra is doing. It's instead of renting a hotel room and watching TV, he's on Zoom call delivering the world right now. Delivering you, delivering me. He's delivering all of us, as well as Sri Singh delivering him too, right? So that's what we're doing. I assure you, Manu, if you don't get too anxious, just keep going and think about what it is you really want to do, how you want to live your life. And if you live your life in a way that a woman would like to join you on it, guess what? Paramatma will send you a woman to join you on it. That's the real source. Pray to Paramatma, not give me a wife. That could be disastrous. Because he'll send you say, which wife? Oh, that woman was fine. It turns out she's not. No. And you say to Paramatma, if you want me to get married, if that's the best way for my service to continue, I put myself at your mercy. If you send the right woman, but I don't want the wrong woman, it'll simply be headaches for me. Why should I want to go through hell? Then we have children and there's divided marriage, everything is miserable. Why go through that? Why go through that? So my dear Paramatma, you decide what I should do and who I should marry. But don't let me delude myself by saying, oh, that girl's cute, I want to marry her. Paramatma will say, okay, you can have her. And then that's when the fun begins, because it may turn out she's not that cute after all inside. So, you're caught between two worlds, the American way with career women and whatnot, and the Vedic way, which is going through dharmic relationships and dharmic weddings. So, but you can find your way, and Ramachandra, myself, and of course, Sri Singh will help you.
Hi, Karada. Come on, guys.
What happened to where's Chidananda?
Chidananda's busy today.
Acha.
Hare Krishna, Babu.
Hare Krishna. It's so good to see you. His children are so wonderful. His children are so gorgeous. They're Krishna conscious. When they open their mouths, they say Hare Krishna. And it's not like they're doing it because they're told. It's doing it because it gives them pleasure to say Hare Krishna.
Well,
and that's wonderful. Being told to do something and doing it, it's nice. It's obedience. But if you have a natural inclination to say Krishna's name, that doesn't require parents saying, now chant, now chant. No, he chants because he wants to. Isn't that right? Ramachandra Prabhu?
Jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Lakshmi Prabhu is here.
Hare Krishna. Who
How
said
are
that?
you?
Who's talking?
Lakshmi here.
Lakshmi
Oh,
Prabhu.
Lakshmi Prabhu. Wow, Jai Prabhu. Are you on the picture?
No, I was outside, so yeah, I have not shared the video. Some disturbance.
Got it. It's so nice to hear your voice. You're a contributor. So when you're there, we feel benefited. We feel nourished by your spiritual intelligence and your good heart
All your
and your
blessings.
aspiration.
All your blessings.
But when you're not there, then we miss you. You see, but we miss you, but we talk to somebody else. But when you come back, we're full of joy.
Like yeah, I will be listening to your, speaking, but I will not be able to join. Sometimes I'll be busy, so I just listen
That's
to
okay.
your lectures.
But your voice is joining us, and your voice is very nice.
Yes, feel free to join anytime you like, whenever you're free. We're trying to
Yeah.
do this every day. So if you have
Yes.
any questions, you can ask and we'll answer it in the video and you can listen to it. So just feel free to
Yeah.
give me shoot me a message or something like that.
Okay. Definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
and with your name, of course. So then Ramachandra will say, Lakshmi Prabhu, because we call you Prabhu. Lakshmi Prabhu, our master, meaning spirit. You're Jiva, you're part of the bones of Krishna, therefore Prabhu, meaning master. And so we say, Lakshmi Prabhu has asked this question. And then we'll hash over the question and try to answer it in our Istagosti, open-hearted, open-minded, open consciousness, open mouth. We work together and produce the right result. And so then you'll get some contribution just by asking a question or making a statement. If you make a statement, that's very good too. Okay, Ramachandra, what's next on the agenda?
I think it was an open forum today. If anyone wants to discuss anything, or we should end it here and start another session tomorrow. I think.
Or what about Sri Singh? What does he want to know?
Yes, Prabhu. Singha Prabhu. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, my questions are answered by Narayan Prabhu.
Did you believe that? Good.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, and he's in one of my favorite towns. When I went to, I had a store called the Desire Tree, Kalpavriksha tree in Beverly Hills on Beverly Drive for this temple, for ISKCON. And I was in buying stuff and I went to Agra. I fell in love with Agra. So you're so lucky. You're in Agra, actually Agra.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not nearby, but actually in Agra, the town.
Yeah, in the town.
That's amazing. I went there because I like to see the marble plates inlaid with semi-precious stones, in these beautiful geometric designs. And I bought trunk loads of those things.
You visited Agra in which year?
I'm sorry? I still have articles.
When did you visit
that I
Agra?
bought there. I'm sorry?
Which year?
I don't know.
Which year, Narayan Prabhu, did you visit Agra?
I did. Oh, which year did I? I've been there several times. That time was 1974. Probably before your father was born.
Yeah.
And each time I went to Agra, let's see, how many times did I go? The first time I went to Agra, I was introduced to the Taj Mahal, which was a Hindu temple, of course, before it was a Muslim mosque / tomb of the Shah Jahan's wife. And so I went there, and a Sikh, and Sikhs, as you know, for Ramachandra, are mystical type of people. And he stood there, mystical, like in a trance. And we came to the outer doorway. Going into the Taj Mahal, each doorway creates another shape by which you see the Taj Mahal. It's like a different picture frame each time. Probably like 4 or 5 or maybe more. I forget. But anyway, you walk in like that, it's just amazing. It's because every few steps, the Taj Mahal has a different frame around it. And he made us stand there probably 2 hours before we could even walk inside the garden area, just to get through the gates, because he wanted us to fully appreciate the mystical quality of the way they designed it. So we did. And that was there, and he concentrated on all the mystical parts of the story of the Taj Mahal. Then, second time I came, this guy was wearing khaki pants. He was an engineer and short little guy, Indian, but very intelligent. And he started out talking about the construction of the Taj Mahal, how the Jamuna River almost was trying to sweep it, in, undercut it. So they hired French architects and engineers to build up embankments around the Jamuna River to keep the Jamuna River from eating up the land under the Taj Mahal. He went into all the physical parts, and then he pulled a number on me, which I can hardly believe. My wife was there with me, and he pointed to the Taj Mahal, and he said, "Do you know why this building looks so small?" You see, they designed the Taj Mahal. Most people build buildings to look bigger than they are. The Taj Mahal people built it to look smaller than it was. Why? Because when it looks small, it becomes more exquisite looking, more beautiful. So he said, "Do you know that around the doorway, where the Arabic inscription is, that it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom, the doorway?" I said, "Why is that?" He says, "Because when you look at it from the ground, instead of it coming to a point, it looks square, which makes it look as though the Taj Mahal is smaller, because you normally instinctively you look up at something tall and it comes to a point at the top, more of a point. Quite the what you call it, the build skyscrapers in New York, etc. You look up, they become more and more pointed, but you go. So anyhow, that was amazing.
We have
And
another
then-
devotee here online. He has a question. Please, Prabhu, introduce yourself and
Hare
ask
Krishna,
the
Prabhu.
question. Hare Krishna. Where are you
Yes,
from?
so I'm from Kolkata.
Kolkata. Acha.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Yes.
Which
Hare
part?
Krishna. I'm from Kolkata, from Salt Lake.
Jai.
Huh?
From Salt
From
Lake
where?
City, Kolkata.
I don't understand.
Salt Lake. Salt Lake.
Yes.
He's from India.
Acha.
Oh, I don't know the South Lake. I was, the Calcutta ISKCON temple
Sorry,
on Shakespeare Sarani near.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in that area near Howrah Bridge, near
Yes.
what you call
The
it,
Victoria Memorial. Victoria
Outer
Memorial. and
Circular
all.
Road, Inner Circular Road, whatever it's called, the narrow gauge railways going to Navadvip.
So what is your question?
Yes.
So, Prabhu, my question was basically that what is the significance of the Rath Yatra of Jagannath? Means, are there any difference between the Snan Yatra and the Rath Yatra?
Well, which aspect of significance? Because it has many different sides to the significance. What are you going to say? What is the meaning of Rath Yatra? Why do they have Rath Yatra? Okay.
Yeah, what is significance? How it started and all.
Okay. Well, Krishna was with his 10,108 wives in Dwarka, and he is married to Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. We have a Lakshmi also. Now, the goddess of fortune. Because of that, he is bound up in the rasas, a completely different rasa than when he was in Vrindavan. But there was some big mela, and all the Brajvasis came to that mela. I forget where it was, maybe at Kurukshetra or somewhere, a big place. And they all came there for that mela. And Krishna left Dwarka and went there. And the gopis had been praying in a most intense sort of way. They were praying that Krishna will come because they miss, their whole thing is loving Krishna in the mood of separation. So they are in such agony and ecstasy of separation from Krishna that their desire for Krishna became so intense that Krishna came there and he danced with the gopis, etc. But when he came back, and I think he came back into Puri, his Lakshmi was very angry at him because so far it was a different rasa altogether, not householder rasa. This was, Madhurya rasa. Is that she was very angry and she didn't want him to come back. She kicked him out of the palace, and he came back on a chariot. That was the Rath Yatra car. So he came back. It became the Rath Yatra festival, and then he came back and he was trying to figure out a way to get Lakshmi to accept him. In the end, he did. He pulled a trick that she succumbed to. She couldn't resist. And that is he put on huge, beautiful gold shin things, to cover his shins. And he used them and then he danced like a Bharatanatyam or Kathakali type of dancing. He danced that dance and he danced so alluringly, so charmingly, so apologetically, so endearingly that Lakshmi's heart melted and she let him back in. So that was the story of Rath Yatra. I was in Puri and I met the man who is in charge of those shin braces that belong to Lord Krishna. I met all the top people in the Puri temple, and he had those. And I got to meet all of the inner working people that were worshiping Lord Jagannath, dressing Lord Jagannath, etc. So that's the rough story, is that Rath Yatra took place when Krishna came back from that festival where he had been playing with the gopis in Madhurya Rasa because the gopis missed him so much. And that's where that festival came from.
Hare Krishna, Shravan Prabhu is here too.
Oh, Joy, Haribol, Shravan.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol.
Haribol.
And Singh Gustav is here. Is that so?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu, yes.
Haribol, good to see you.
How did you come in contact with the channel, Prabhu?
See, basically, I was just searching, means basically, I searched for the kirtans of Lord Krishna and found that there was a live stream going on of this channel. So there was a link given for Zoom. I had that wish that I could attend any one of the meeting with any one of the devotees of that's online. Basically, my grandfather is in contact with ISKCON Mayapur, and every year he conducts like Vaishnav Sevas and all. So I had the interest on this line, and today I came here and got and saw that there was a live stream going on. So I thought to join this and
And
hear
you are
what of.
very well, and I would like to say welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Anyone has any more questions, comments, doubts?
Lakshmi, we need to hear from Lakshmi.
Lakshmi is having connection problems, so she's listening from YouTube.
She
Haribol.
Yes. Go ahead, Prabhu.
I had a question about say if a devotee is seeking marriage, that how can he go about I guess procuring or manifesting a wife, especially in regards to the difference between guru pseudo guru worship and Prabhupada, people who are more loyal to following Prabhupada and his wishes, his instructions.
Well, people are worshiping other gurus thinking they're worshiping Prabhupada, but they're
Right.
not. So
Uh-huh.
if you are a Prabhupada worshiper, it's pointless to have someone that adores one of the ISKCON gurus.
Right.
It just doesn't work out.
Right. So my question is, how does somebody like myself or any one of us say we're trying to find a wife, and how can we go about being that there's no, like, there's not too many physical congregations of people who are Prabhupada followers, loyal people who are loyal to Prabhupada.
Well, that is in the. How old are you, Prabhu?
Me, I'm 29.
What?
I'm 29 years old.
Okay, you're still young, because Prabhupada said the husband should be 10 years older than the wife, or minimum 10 years older. I think he was older than that for his wife, because when he got married, I think he was around, I don't know the facts, but he was around 25. His wife was 13. So
Yeah.
you don't have much to worry about. This group that we're creating here will produce eventually, I would think, marriageable women as well as men who wish to get married, based on Prabhupada. I would say so. That's our goal. That's our objective. We want everyone to get married, but not just to get married and not to become the follower of a pseudo Prabhupada guru, but the real Prabhupada guru.
Right. Yeah, that's the difficulty. And say if I wanted to,
maybe in a year that will change completely.
yeah,
That's why I asked your age. Will you live long enough to get married under our
yeah. It's because, like, typically
in our tent here?
I've what I've read about uh like Vedic culture, you, like, a person would stay in ashram from the age of 5 all the way up until, like, what is it, 18, 20 years old,
Or
and
older.
from there, like, as they start getting in their 20s,
25 years, something like that.
they go on to, at that point, that they can go on to become married. And so, me
Or they
considering
could
that I'm
become,
almost 30 years old,
or,
that's something that I, you know, think about, contemplate.
well,
So,
there are plenty of women. We've been discussing that with Banu Prabhu. There are plenty of women all over the place, and they all want to get married. Most of them, very few don't want to get married, and they are all looking to reproduce and have nice children. They're looking for a home. They would like to cook nice foodstuffs to offer to the deity and give to their husband and their
right,
children. So that's nature. That's totally natural. It's as natural as any mammal of any species. Tigers, gorillas, everything, they're all doing the same thing. Elephants, they all do the same thing. It's just slightly different style. That's the mammalian part of it. But and that's for marriage, the impulse. Otherwise, why a person wants to get married if he doesn't want to reproduce? He's better off not doing it. Don't, why get married? Become a Sikha brahmachari, become
that's,
sannyasi. Why get
that's one
married?
thing. Are you familiar with Sankarshan Das Adhikari, something like that?
Who?
He's taking a guruship.
Yes,
He
I know
was
him.
a brahmachari
Shankara.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in his later on in life, he got married to I forget her name. His wife. They didn't get married until I think they were much older, so
Yeah.
they haven't had kids. So I kind of wondered, like, how, because I know that people go from grihasta, and later on they become sannyasi later in life. But to go from your whole life in sannyas and then to go to grihasta later on, I'm kind of like wondered what's.
It's not supposed to do that. Taking sannyas is supposed to be a final statement, not a interim. A brahmachari, you don't have to take sannyas. You can be brahmachari till you're 80 and then get married if you want. But
I'm not sure if he actually took sannyas, but I know he was a brahmachari for longest time until he
if
got
he wants to
older.
get married, there's no harm in it. Why? If you looked at his astrological chart, it would probably jump out at you as big as day why he didn't get married and then why he did get married. These are all predetermined impulses. You don't have to act on them, but they're there. They're predetermined.
Yeah.
By your planets, you're born under your past lives, your past karma. This is what it all boils down to.
I think the conclusion that I came to is that it served both of them that he could have somebody to help him. I mean, not that I, propound him as a guru or anything, but I just as a case study, I guess I just consider that he needs somebody to cook and do general management of the little house. It's a temple house. They have a temple in Austin, and then
maybe he was just lonely.
That's true. Who knows? But it's kind of a peculiar. I kind of wonder that why he would later on take wife.
His wife is younger.
No, his wife is. They're about the same age. Her name is Priyananda. I forget her name. But they refer to her as Guru Mata. Huh?
Where do they live?
In Austin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was attending their online. They had the online classes. They have like Arati in the morning early, and then they have the morning Bhagavatam class in the evening. They have that online. So for a short while, I was attending just for the formality of devotee association, just for like a month or so. And then I just got to realize how closely associated he was and they were to Tamal Krishna, and he was his secretary for many years after Prabhupada passed. Sankarshan was Tamal's secretary for I think maybe 5 or 10 years.
What is his name again?
Sankarshan Das Adhikari. That's what he calls himself.
I probably know him.
Yeah, he came through Vishnujan, and that's how he came to know Prabhupada, and this movement is by meeting Vishnujan Swami.
He's also a GBC approved guru, so here that is not acceptable. We don't GBC approved.
Right. So not that I just kind of a case study. I just kind of wondering.
GBC approved guru.
Mr. John. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But I just certain if you're not accepting of the full truth of, if you you're believing that Prabhupada died of natural causes and like that, and the whole thing that his disappearance or people, the poisoning, that's a hoax. I can't quite, it makes it really hard to associate with people who are not even willing to look at the evidence,
Well, yes, we can't.
So that's why I stopped.
That's wasting our time. It's sort of like the allurement is that they're wearing devotee clothes, they chant, they talk about Krishna, but the fact is that they are putting all their faith in a Kanista Adhikari, not into the pure devotee who's at Uttama Adhikari. So what foolish person will worship a guru who's not any more really advanced than they are?
Yeah. Yes.
What's the point? You know, the
Yeah.
Kinnasadakari, there is no guru in ISKCON that's beyond Kinnasadakari.
Right.
And there's 3 levels. Prabhupada is Uttama Adhikari. Uttama Adhikari means in his rasa with Krishna and Krishna Loka, and he descends to the earth to deliver us. Or even if he becomes an Uttama Adhikari on earth, well, no, it does not work that way. He basically is an avatar. Avatar means a descended person who comes to deliver us. And you can't replace that avatar, the transparent via medium to Krishna, the Uttama Adhikari. You cannot replace him with a Kanista Adhikari who is basically on the same level as you are. Maybe you can say, oh no, he's much more advanced. He knows all these great stories about Prabhupada. He associated with this person, that person. Yeah, but that's very relative. It's small. It's a small distinction, not a big distinction. We need to go for the major distinction. If he's a Kanistadakari, it doesn't matter if he knows more Krishna Katha than you do. It doesn't matter. What matters is if he is a pure devotee or not. If he's not a pure devotee, then
The purity.
why waste your time?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve the soul to follow somebody on just a political basis. You know, they're not that their platform is not elevated, any more elevated than the seeker.
Right. Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And even if they are nice, even if they speak nicely, etc., that doesn't make them guru. You know, so it's like
It's Shastra
we
based.
used well, there was an example that in Spain there were devotees that we started worshiping Tulsi all over the world, and back in the day in the 70s or something like that, 70s, the early 70s, we began worshiping Tulsi Devi, and in Spain they also were worshiping Tulsi Devi. They got all the beautiful pots, and they put dresses on them. They worshipped. They had tears in their eyes. They were in ecstasy. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo. They would weep. They were very nice devotees, soft-hearted. They loved Tulsi Devi.
Which
So
particular devotees are you referring to?
It was just the ones in the Spanish temple.
Spanish
I don't know
temple.
which one. Yeah, they were in Spain.
I see.
So everybody else was worshiping Tulsi. They were also. Then they practically were ready to commit suicide because they wrote to Prabhupada and said, to our great chagrin, horror, mortification, we have been worshiping the basil plant, like for cooking basil, so, you put in pizza.
Yeah.
We've been worshiping that plant because Tulsi and the basil, the word basil means Tulsi actually. But St. Peter's Basilica in Rome is named after Tulsi Devi because the Catholics are more tricky than you might imagine. So so the basil, they were worshiping an ordinary cooking herb, thinking it was Tulsi Devi. So that, my opinion, that's very much like worshiping the Kanistadakari gurus, thinking they're like Prabhupada, putting the same honor as Prabhupada on a guru who is
like that.
Okay.
It's like worshiping a brick wall.
Yeah, well, so what happened is they were mortified and they said, have we committed a very great aparad? Prabhupada responded and said, no, in your heart, you were worshiping Tulsi Devi. You made the mistake to put the wrong plant. But Tulsi Devi accepted your worship, but you were thinking you were worshiping Tulsi Devi, and therefore it was genuine worship. So people that accept and worship these bogus gurus or these Kanista Adhikari gurus, their hearts are sincere. They think they're worshiping someone like Prabhupada. They really honestly believe that this is the purpose of life, to worship this person. They do not realize that they're not worshiping Tulsi, but they're worshiping a cooking herb like basil.
Mhm.
But if you take, then you say, no, that devotion you had is genuine. Don't be ashamed of your love, of your devotion, of your sacrifice, of your donations of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't be ashamed of that. You gave that to Krishna, and you gave that to who you thought was Prabhupada's representative. But it turns out that person is just like you. It's like you giving your kid brother bags full of gold. For what reason? Because you think he's your father, not your brother. So it just goes on like that. And so people worshiping the ISKCON gurus are worshiping the basil plant, not the Tulsi Devi. Now, in terms of association, our process here is to say, not acceptable, because we have Shastra to show that the Kanista Adhikari should not become a guru, because the disciple cannot make much advancement under insufficient guidance. So if they cannot make advancement, what's the point of the initiation? What's the point of putting ghee lamps and water and splashing the guru with all sorts of stuff and kissing his feet and washing his feet and drinking the water and then washing his feet? What's the whole point if that person is giving insufficient guidance? You're worshiping a process that cannot help you. Oh, it helps you somewhat. Anybody who tells you to chant Hare Krishna and sits on a red chair in the middle of the room, keeping your attention with a lecture or anecdotes or something of that sort, is doing a good thing. But the bad part of it outweighs the good part of it, because you become convinced that he is on the level of Srila Prabhupada, and that is not acceptable. We cannot accept that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Indeed it does.
Jai.
Jai.
So, we covered a lot of topics today. We covered marriage, we covered women, we covered, what else we covered? Gurus.
But we have not yet, I can tell by looking, that Gustav Singh has something he would like to ask or think or share with us.
I think he
Yes,
mentioned
what?
that he had a question on
Yes,
the
Prabhu.
chat. Whatever.
Yeah, so Gustav Singh, can you please say something to express what is your thinking? What do you want to say? What is your heart telling you to say? Can you hear?
Yes, now I can hear. Yeah.
So maybe I'm mistaken, but is there anything you'd like to either ask or express or question?
No, I just want to ask about one sloka that is written in the Srimad Bhagavatam that I've heard from one Prabhu, that it is written about Lord Jagannath, that when Lord Jagannath when Lord Jagannath met with Narad Muni in his path during his during Rath Yatra, he told one slok that Naham Vaisani Vaikunte Yoginam Hridayastava Yatra Gayanti Mahabhakta Tattvatishtami Narada. What is the meaning of this slok?
That I don't know. I'm a very simple man. I don't know very much Sanskrit.
What's the translation? What is this translation? Srila Prabhupada's translation. Is it where my devotees are? That's where I am? Krishna's
Yes,
praying
yes,
at.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because
No,
of
it's I'm not
Lord
in
Chaitanya
Vaikuntha.
Center.
I'm not there. It starts like that. I'm not in Vaikuntha. I'm in the hearts of devotees. Exactly.
Yes, 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 it's like that. Yeah.
Where my devotees chant the holy names, I'm exactly there. Like something like.
Yes, yes. I think it means that the wherever the devotee is chanting my name, I'm there, but I'm just not particularly there in the Vaikunt, but I'm there within the hearts of the devotees where they're
Yeah.
chanting my name.
Yeah. Well, of course, Lord Chaitanya cannot be anywhere except here because he's a combination of Radha and Krishna. And in Krishna Loka, Radha and Krishna never are combined. They are a, a dynamic between them that cannot be enclosed in one body. But he came here because he wanted to become Radharani to understand the extent of Radharani's devotion for him. And by delivering us with the Holy Krishna, Hare Krishna mantra, that is the highest expression of love capable of being generated by Radharani. And that is a very powerful thing. Could I ask you, Gustav, isn't your first name Russian?
Yes, sir. What Prabhu I didn't heard.
Oh, your first name, what is the source?
It's
Yes, sir.
Bengali.
But Gustav
Yes,
is not a Bengali name,
but
is it?
I'm a Bengali actually.
Yeah, you're Bengali, yes. uh, from the South Bay of Bengal or something of that sort. But what I'd like to know is, Kostov, is that Bengali word?
See the meaning of my name. What I have found out till now, it's been told by my grandfather that my name actually denotes that it's a precious stone in the chest of Lord Krishna, which is also known as the Kaustav Muni, and all I have heard that from my
Gustava
grand.
jeweler. Gustava jeweler.
Kasturba money.
Yes, yes.
Money.
So it has a Sanskrit root. Then must be. Well, anyhow, Kostov Singha, Prabhu, that is lion, right? Singha means lion,
Yeah, yeah.
like Narasingha. We welcome you. I really like your mentality, your scholarship, your intelligence, and your interest in life.
Yeah.
You know, people are interested in life to get what they want to satisfy their senses, and then they like to play around with philosophy and stuff like that to entertain their mind and to make themselves feel bigger than life. But I sense that you are committed in your heart to spiritual intelligence. So it's not that you're just putting on a show, you're genuine. And because of that, we welcome you and we want you to stay with us as long as you like and say whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want,
yeah.
whatever you want to say. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. It's my pleasure to stay with you all in this chat session.
Yeah, this is going to get big. We'll get to the point where our Zoom meetings will have hundreds of people on them
Yeah.
at the same time. But we have to have a bigger screens. Right now, I see 4 separate people on the Zoom.
So, Prabhu, will this meeting be every day? Means at 8:30, as you have written in the chat box.
Yes, we try to start about 8:15, 8:30, and if we start
Okay.
earlier, then you'll see us on
So I wish
live.
to so I wish to add my grandfather and grandmother who are a great devotee of Lord Krishna in this meeting.
Yes,
Yeah, of course.
anyone can join. It's open
Okay.
forum.
English polo.
Yes, sir. Yes, I didn't. I didn't got you. Sorry.
So your family, they speak English?
Yeah, actually, my grandfather and grandmother. I mean, they didn't speak so much, but my father and mother does. Means
So
basically we
welcome.
speak in Bengali. We speak in Bengali.
Unfortunately, Bangla na samajhta. So unfortunately, I cannot speak Bengali. But if they speak any English, we will welcome them because that's our common language. My prediction is English will become the language of Krishna consciousness by 10,000 years from now, by 2,000 years from now, English will be the language of Krishna consciousness because Prabhupada wrote all of his books in English.
Yeah, that's
If
not
he
the problem.
translates,
Means if they don't know English, then I am there to translate them for. I am there to translate the English for
Very
them,
good.
Bengali.
yes. Could I ask your age, Krishna
So I am
Prabhu?
I'm 15 years.
How much?
15.
1-5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you the same person we were talking to before?
No, he's a
No,
different
no, no.
person.
Yeah.
That
A
person was
different,
14.
he was. That's amazing. You're so welcome. You're at the right
Thank you
age
so much.
for at your age. That is brahmachari age for self-realization. Make it happen. Make
Thank you
it
so
happen
much.
for you and your whole family.
Yeah,
You
thank
know,
you
if
so
you
much.
become a pure devotee, you become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said 100 generations in the past, believe it or not, and 100 generations in the future will all become pure devotees also.
Yeah.
Right.
You see?
Actually, my grandfather and
Even,
grandmothers are. I mean, they are pure devotees. They got their diksha from Mayapur under the means under H.H. Jayapataka Maharaj. Uh, they got the diksha from him uh, from Mayapur, and I
Achha,
greatly and I and I greatly admire them in my life, like how they are chanting every time and they're getting in touch with Lord Krishna. Uh,
that's
I just
wonderful.
greatly admire them.
Well, so they have benefited. That's a nice thing because if you believe the right thing, it doesn't matter even who tells it to you. As long as you learn the right thing, it could be the person telling you had a different idea. But if they didn't have, if they got the right idea, then that is their great benediction from Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jai, any of
So
the local devotees have any questions? Shravan Prabhu? Banu Prabhu? Or we'll end it here and then we'll start another session tomorrow.
tomorrow, hopefully sooner, earlier.
Yeah, sooner or earlier we'll try to aim for
So,
something.
My
so Prabhu,
problem
what
is
is
I
the
have no
time for
idea.
tomorrow? What is
What
the time
time
for
is it?
tomorrow? Tomorrow, sorry.
Tomorrow we'll
I can
start.
join.
Narayan Prabhu, what
Yes.
time we think we should shoot for? 8 o'clock?
Well, I always try to shoot for 7, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, we're gonna try 7 p.m. If that doesn't work, then we're gonna go 7:30 or 8 o'clock.
Or 8. Yes,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Prabhu, I have a quick
Perfect.
question.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay. There was somebody asking me what happens. Sometimes people have near-death experience. They see a light, they're going towards the light, and then sometimes they end up on the other side of the light, and then they come back, and they remember
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
So
And why
what
not?
exactly is this light they see, and what is on the other side?
Remember, the jiva is not the body. The
Okay.
body, you can say, how can the body go into a light? The body doesn't. It's the consciousness that goes into the light. And what
Okay.
is the consciousness? It's the jiva and the mind together go in that light. What is the light? It's on the astral plane. That's the light. That's the platform of transfer. If they
Okay.
went into that and didn't come back, then they would be coming down, according to their karma, into another womb to take birth again.
Okay.
So they had a pre-death experience. And if you have a pre-death experience, then you come back, then you can remember what happened, and it's so amazing. You say, wow, maybe there's something into all of this after all. But when you have an actual death experience, you keep on going, unless you become a ghost. You keep on going into the semen of some male, hopefully human male, and you become he you become in a pregnancy. If you're a male, you're attracted to the woman who's having sex with her husband, or if you're attracted to the husband, you become a girl who's attracted to her father, and that's the way it works. And it's been working like that in every species since time immemorial. So that's what happens, that light, everything. It's the astral plane. Fortunately, there's astral plane can also be very hellish. So whoever has had that experience was an elevated soul, or to some degree, an elevated soul, because he saw light, not dragged down into a hellish mentality.
What is an astral plane, Prabhu?
No,
What is an astral plane?
Huh?
Bhanu Prabhu, 1 second.
Okay.
So the white light is not Brahma Jyoti?
Not necessarily, no. Brahma
Okay.
Jyoti is not easy to achieve. Brahma Jyoti is outside of earth, fire, water, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. To get there, even the yogis have a hard time getting there.
Okay,
So ordinary man cannot go there.
I see. So this is just astral plane.
Yeah, it's in the material world. Astral plane is ether
Okay.
plane.
Okay,
And it's ether is the transfer plane. In other words, the soul is transferred through the ether to the new body.
okay.
And that's how it works. So, but I mean, from the point of view of the jiva, the person experiencing it, it looks godly. Oh, I saw God, or I saw heaven. Or, there's all sorts of things people could experience, but it's relative. You don't realize that the Brahmajyoti and the Brahmajyoti is so far beyond that experience.
Okay.
But it's a very exciting experience nonetheless.
Nice. Bhanu Prabhu, you have a question. Please go ahead.
Just answered it. Astral plane in the is this the space? Outer space, astral plane, exactly.
What is this?
This is Bhanu Prabhu asking.
Is the astral plane the outer space?
Is the
What did
astral
you say
plane
about-
outer space?
Ramachandra, can you help me?
He's wondering, is the astral plane that we're referring to, is that in reference to outer space?
Or inner space?
Yeah, I would say that the astral plane is like it's like a dimension beyond, like when people astral travel, for example, their consciousness temporarily travels outside of their body, where they can see, like do remote viewing, and they can see their body. They can like see themselves from like the sky.
So what is it? The soul goes out of the body on a silver cord. The silver cord comes from the heart, and the soul goes out on that cord like a dog on a leash, and he can see. Sometimes a person becomes stuck, they can die like that. But it's not the same thing as dying, because dying means you keep going into the next body. You go up into that thing, you think, oh, I'm going to the Brahman, I'm going to heaven, I'm going to kingdom of God, or whatever, going up. But then you get up and then you start coming back down again. It's like you climb up the stairs on the slide, then you slide down the slide. You come back down, and where it's at the bottom of the slide, your next birth. Maybe on a different planet, maybe in a different species, maybe on a different part of the planet Earth. There's no guarantee, but the tendency is there for people to flock together birth after birth. If they're decent people, nowadays people are so completely destroyed that they don't even likely to become humans in their next life. But there's so many examples of people have found out through astral travel, and not so much astral travel, but past life regression and whatnot. They found out that they were related before, like grandfather becomes baby, like that, in the same family. They come in clumps and clusters of the same people. Why? They know each other already. And if they are very warm and loving with each other, they don't have any reason to go somewhere else, off into the cold, distant somewhere else. They come stay with what's familiar. So the grandfather becomes the daughter of the grandfather's son's wife gives birth to a daughter who is the grandfather. That's possible. There's a lot of examples like that. Today I was just talking with Ratnabhushan Prabhu, and he was describing how there was a thing like that where a little boy is born, and he said, when are we going to see the blue house? When are we going to go see the blue house? They couldn't figure out. He's 2 years old. He wants to see the blue house, which is from many, many years ago. And it turns out that the child who died was some sort of in a fire or something, got scars on his neck and died. He reincarnated as this 2-year-old, became a 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old then went to see the blue house with the people who took him there. And when he came back, he no longer had scars on his neck. It was from a previous birth. But I wouldn't count on it. People nowadays are not going to take human birth very likely. They've just
One last
completely
question,
destroyed
Prabhu.
themselves. Huh?
One quick question I have, that
Yes.
is it a myth? Is it a myth or a reality that the heart of Lord Krishna is still present in the Jagannath idol of Puri? Is it true, or is it a myth?
I've heard
Means I
that.
don't.
The idol, as you put it, the Murti, is Krishna. At the time they carved every 20, 25 years, I forget which it is, they carve new deities, Jagannath deities. When they carve the new Jagannath deity, there's an old Brahmin who goes to the old deity and he mystically reaches into the heart of the old deity and takes out the living principle of Lord Jagannath. It brings it over and puts it in the new deity.
It is also said that the Brahmin
like
is
a
not
rabbit.
allowed
What?
to. It is also said that the Brahmin is not allowed to see that heart.
Yeah, I
No,
hear that
no.
they're blindfolded
So
through this process.
So
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
all about it. Yes?
I heard like through this one person named Praveen Mohan that he does like archaeological study. He was mentioning that when they changed the deity, like the power, they shut down all the power in Jagannath
Yes,
Puri.
yes, yes. I also heard this
And
from. I heard this from Govind Krishnadas.
yeah, they were saying that like when Krishna, when he departed this world, he disappeared. Um, the hunter who put him in the fire, right? To
Yes, during the
Well,
burial ceremony.
shot him in the ankle.
yeah, they
Yes, yes.
cremated him, and when what was left in the fire was like this device, which is like it's like a he described it as
Like a stone, like it's not of a flesh
right.
and blood,
It's
like
like it's like
it's not
this
like the
like
normal heart of the human beings.
he
Prabhu is
compared it
asking,
to
is
like
this true? He's asking, is this true?
it's like this spiritual technology. That's how he described it. Is the heart
Well,
Yeah,
of
I just wanted
Krishna,
to
and
know
that's
that
what they put
all
in.
I know
true
about is
fact or a myth. Like,
Lord Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya was in the temple of Jagannath, and when he left his worldly pastimes, he zoomed up and entered into the Lord Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya did 500 years ago. So
That makes
it's beyond me, and I don't want it not to be beyond me particularly. My understanding it doesn't help me because I already have faith in Krishna because for a million other reasons. So if we're going to discuss Krishna, I don't need to be convinced that he's very powerful because he could merge into Lord Jagannath, or that the deity, the Jagannath, is transferred by the Brahmin who can't see him, as you pointed out, from one Murti to the next. These are wonderful things. I love to hear about it, But my faith is not dependent on it. My faith is there before that and after that. Not faith, realization. It's too late to have faith.
I would say that it's entirely possible, just because there's so much obscure technology that we don't know about, like Vimanas and all these
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
It makes sense, and I don't doubt that it could be
Oh,
true.
yeah, so why doubt? We're dealing, but probably one said something about installing the Los Angeles Community Orchidistas deities on Los Cienega Boulevard. He said, like I said, if you well, let's say if you if you do not worship them nicely, they will remain metal stone forever. But if you worship them nicely, they will speak to you.
Yeah, yeah. I think
And
this one
then
is also
this is
like
1968, and then or 69, no, 68. And then tears shot out of his eyes, and he cried out, "But please be careful," he said. "You are dealing with Krishna."
yeah. I think this one is also true. Like the heart of Sri Krishna is in the idol of Lord Jagannath. Like there are many things which are happening in Jagannath Puri Dham. Like there is no like when they serve the bhog, there is no shortage of bhog, or when the temple is about to close, the all the bhog get finished. Means there is no wastage of food in the like these things are happening. So there might be any spiritual means spiritual power or any there can be a divine energy which is happening due to presence of heart of the Lord Krishna in the Jagannath idol, and
Yeah.
Jagannath Devi
Well,
himself an
the
incarnation
Jagannath
of Lord
idol,
Krishna.
Lord Jagannath is Krishna.
Yeah, yeah, he is also an incarnation of Lord Krishna.
Who is?
I
Jagannath
mean
not
Lord
incarnation. He is Krishna.
Acha, himself Lord Krishna.
Yeah. So we say idol, but that's just one way of putting it, very British way, I might add. But he is not idol, he is the supreme personality of Godhead.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He has he's not got wood and inside there's Shakti. He is God in a manifested form. And
Yes.
he can manifest in many different ways, and he does. Each deity looks different than the other deity. Yet each deity is, every time you see Krishnamurti, you will not find two of them that look identical. And yet it's the
Mm-hmm.
same person, isn't it?
Hmm.
Well, anyhow, have we reached the end? I thought, Gustav Singh Prabhu, that you would have
Yes,
something
yes,
wonderful
yes.
to contribute, and you did. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Join
Hare
us
Krishna Prabhu.
again.
Yeah,
Thank
Join
you,
us
Yeah,
Abhay.
yeah.
whenever you can. You don't have to
Okay,
join every
okay.
day. We're
Prabhu,
not
what you
creating a
said
cult.
about Krishna beauty,
But you join when you want to, and we'll take you seriously whenever you join.
Okay,
Right.
okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
oh, Hare Krishna.
I think
Hare
I think
Krishna.
I'll end it here, Prabhu's.
Okay, I want to ask one question about what he just said.
What is the question?
Okay.
You said that Jagannath deity is Krishna. Is
Yes.
Jagannath deity in Jagannath Puri is just like any deity in the temples that we have in ISKCON, or is
Yes.
Jagannath any different than because he himself appeared there?
Yes, I think because
The,
all the
the
deities are in the form of a human being. We worship Lord Krishna in the form of a human being, but the deity of Jagannath Dev is so much different. Like he himself appeared.
but you know how that happened. The
It was Raja
Vishwakarma was
Indradyumna.
carving the Vishwakarma was carving
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
Murti of Krishna out of a log that was washed up on the shore, and no one could move the log. And then finally, Vishwakarma was the only one who could bring it into the palace.
Yes, yes.
And
It
he
was
was
being
there,
carved
and
in the
he
it was
told the
being carved in
king,
the
"Do
palace
not
of Raja
disturb me."
Indradyumna.
The reason he's in that form is so that the Bengalis, the Oriyas, the Orissans can worship him because they mostly are eating fish and whatnot. and they cannot worship the actual Swarup of Krishna as Govinda.
Yeah.
But the story is that the king interrupted Vishwakarma while carving, and he wasn't completed with the carving, and so Krishna, Balaram, and
Subhadra.
Subhadra were left in that form. And yet, then they worshipped him accordingly, and have been worshiping ever since for what, over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So there's nothing miraculous about Krishna. It's not miracle, it's reality. Krishna is real. The miracle that exists in our lives is that we think we are our body. That is astonishing. You know, it's unrealistic impression. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Look at the two
Hare
children.
Krishna.
Can you see them? Look at those two children. They are so saintly. They're wonderful children. Hare Krishna. I'm waving at you, girl.
Hello, Hare Krishna.
I'm waving at Prabhu. See, we're all waving at you. Thousands of miles away, hundreds of miles away, and there you are, as big as life. You're so sweet. So, are we ready to let go and then come back tomorrow? How do you feel?
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Thank
Prabhu.
you.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you to all
Krishna.
the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
one thing last thing I would like to say is, I guarantee that we will come up with the answers as though they were coming from Bhaktisiddhanta or from Srila Prabhupada. I guarantee that, because that is the inspirational force behind our Istagosti, which is Circle of Cowherd Boys, of which Krishna is one of the Cowherd Boys. We're here to resolve questions, and Prabhupada said Istagosti is, the purpose of Istagosti is to express doubt. So all of us have doubt, or we would be pure devotees, just like Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta. So the doubt is dispelled during Istagosti. So that is the purpose here. So I will guarantee to you, continue and you will become free from any doubt. You will become so powerful that you could stop big trucks in the middle of the freeway with just holding up your hand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to
Hi,
Srila
okay.
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Bol. Wonderful meeting tonight.
Hi.
Hare
Wait,
Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama.